There is one truth that many parents do not realize until it is already too late. A child can always be at the top of the class. They can earn grades that everyone admires. They can receive praise from every teacher. They can make their family proud at every family gathering. But then, one day, when they walk out of that school, when there are no more tests to take, when there are no more right or wrong answers already written for them, when there is no longer an adult standing behind them, that child no longer knows which way to go. They may be able to solve very difficult math problems, yet they do not know how to resolve a conflict with a friend. They may memorize hundreds of formulas, yet they do not know how to make a decision when standing at one of life's crossroads. They may say many things, but they do not know how to listen. They may answer very quickly, but they do not know how to ask the right question. That is the moment when many parents suddenly realize the truth. They once believed that academic success was a ticket to a secure future. But life works in a completely different way. Life does not reward the person who knows the most. Life often rewards the person who knows how to think, who knows how to adapt, who knows how to learn from mistakes, who knows how to stand up again after failure, and above all, who knows how to do the right thing even when nobody is watching. After many years of research into child psychology and brain development, scientists have discovered something fascinating. What creates a resilient adult is rarely IQ alone, nor is it the number of degrees they earn. It is the way they see life, the way they face challenges, the way they manage emotions, the way they make choices. Those qualities do not appear naturally when someone turns 18. They are built much earlier, right inside the family, through thousands of small conversations, through the way parents respond every single day, through moments that seem completely ordinary. Maybe you have met children like this. They perform exceptionally well in school. But one low grade is enough to make them feel their whole world has fallen apart. Some children are wonderfully obedient. They always do exactly what adults ask, but the moment they have to make a decision on their own, they become uncertain, anxious, afraid of making mistakes, afraid of failure, afraid of being judged. That does not mean they are weak. It simply means they have never truly had the opportunity to learn how to think independently. Many parents tell me, "I only want the very best for my child," and I believe them. No father, no mother, wakes up every morning wanting to hurt their own child. All of us love our children. All of us make sacrifices. All of us do our best. But sometimes that very love causes us to do too much for our children, to make too many decisions for them, to protect them too much, until one day they no longer believe they are capable of walking on their own. That is the greatest tragedy. Because the ultimate goal of parenting is not to protect your child from every hardship. It is to help your child become strong enough to overcome hardship. It is not to clear the path for them their entire life. It is to teach them how to find their own path when no one is standing beside them. And yet, this is something schools do not teach. Schools teach children how to memorize, how to complete assignments, how to earn high grades. Those are all very important skills. But life demands much more than that. Life will ask your child, what will you do when you fail? How will you respond when someone rejects you? What choice will you make when no one tells you which answer is the right one? How will you treat people who are more vulnerable than you are? What will you do when things do not go the way you expected? There is no exam that prepares children for those questions, and there is no diploma that can answer them on their behalf. That is why more and more experts in education and psychology agree on one thing. The greatest gift parents can give their children is not an advantage. It is not wealth. It is not grades. It is wisdom. Wisdom is not knowing everything. It is knowing what truly matters. Knowing when to move forward. Knowing when to stop. Knowing how to listen before judging. knowing how to learn instead of blaming, knowing how to take responsibility for your own choices. The beautiful thing is this: wisdom is not something people are born with, it is a skill, and just like every other skill, it is developed day by day, through very small habits, through the things parents do again and again. You may be surprised to learn that many habits which seem completely ordinary inside the family are quietly shaping the way your child will think as an adult. Not 10 years from now, but beginning today. In this video, we are going to explore 10 simple habits. Habits powerful enough to change the way a child sees the world, not only helping them become more intelligent, but helping them think more deeply, make better decisions, live with greater peace, and become someone others can truly trust. Stay with us until the very end, because the 7th habit is something many parents wish they had known much earlier. It does not require money. It does not require a special school, yet it can completely change the way your child grows into adulthood. 1. Start conversations with the question, why? If you spend some time watching the way adults talk to children, you will notice something very interesting. Most conversations inside a family are not really conversations. They are instructions. Put your jacket on, go brush your teeth, don't run, sit down, hurry up. The parents speak. The child obeys. That makes everything move faster. The house becomes less chaotic, and sometimes that really is necessary. But if all a child hears every single day are instructions, their brain becomes used to waiting for someone else to do the thinking. That child will grow up with a very dangerous habit, always waiting for someone else to tell them what to do, always waiting for someone else to make the decision, always searching for answers outside themselves, instead of learning how to find answers within themselves. That is why children who achieve outstanding academic success sometimes struggle when they step into real life. Because in the real world, no one hands us an answer sheet. No teacher stands beside us every moment to guide us. No test has only one correct answer. Life keeps asking open-ended questions, and only those who know how to think can truly find their own path. The wonderful thing is this: that ability can be nurtured from the time your child is very young, not through long lectures, but through questions. Instead of saying, "Stop that right now," try asking, "What do you think will happen if you keep doing that?" Instead of saying, "You need to apologize," ask, "If someone did that to you, how do you think you would feel?" Instead of saying, "That was wrong," ask, "What made you think that was the right choice?" At first, those questions may seem to take more time, but in reality, you are doing something incredibly important. You are teaching your child's brain how to reason, how to see a situation from different perspectives, how to connect actions with consequences. That is the foundation of critical thinking. There is a fascinating study in cognitive development. Children whose parents regularly ask open-ended questions tend to become more flexible problem solvers, less dependent on others, and more confident when making decisions, not because they are more intelligent, but because their brains have become used to finding answers on their own. There is a huge difference between knowing an answer and knowing how to find an answer. Schools often teach the first. Families should teach the second, because one day your child will face problems that no one has ever taught them how to solve. There will be no textbook, no answer key, no one grading their work. At that moment, what helps them move forward will not be their memory. It will be their ability to think. 2. Let your child make small decisions every day. Parents love their children, so naturally, they want to protect them from mistakes. That instinct is completely natural. We want to choose the nicest clothes, the healthiest meals, the best schools. Even the friends we think our children should spend time with. We believe that if we make all the right choices, our children will have a better life. But here is the paradox. No one learns how to make decisions if they spend their entire childhood never making any decisions for themselves. One day, your child will have to choose a career, a life partner, a way of living, the values they want to live by. No one can make those choices for them. If from childhood someone else has always decided everything, then adulthood will make every choice feel frightening. That is why it is important to begin with very small things. Let your child choose between 2 appropriate outfits. Let them decide which book they want to read first. Let them arrange their study space their own way. Let them try to solve small problems on their own. Maybe they will not choose the best option. Maybe they will make mistakes. But every small mistake they make today is a lesson that costs far less than the big mistakes they might make tomorrow. Parents do not need to create a perfect childhood. Parents need to create a childhood where children are allowed to practice, allowed to try, allowed to make mistakes, and allowed to learn. Because confidence does not come from always being right. It comes from knowing that even when I am wrong, I can still make it right. 3. Help your child name their emotions. There is something remarkable. Many adults spend their entire lives without truly knowing what they are feeling. They only know they are tired, they are angry, they are sad, but they do not know why. They do not understand what is happening inside themselves. That does not begin in adulthood. It begins in childhood. When a child cries, many adults immediately say, "Stop crying. It's not a big deal. You have to be strong. Don't be so weak." The parents mean well. But the message the child's brain receives is very different. My feelings are not acceptable. My emotions are something I have to hide. Over time, the child does not stop having emotions. They simply stop showing them. And emotions that are never named often find other ways to appear, through anger, through anxiety, through withdrawal, or through wounds that remain well into adulthood. Instead of quickly saying, "Don't be sad anymore," try saying, "I can see that you're feeling very sad today. Would you like to tell me what happened?" Or even more simply, "That must feel really difficult." A single sentence like that is enough for a child's brain to understand that emotions are not the enemy. Emotions are simply signals. When a child learns to name their emotions, they begin to understand themselves, and when they understand themselves, they become less afraid, less impulsive, less likely to let emotions control their actions. That is the foundation of emotional intelligence, a skill that is becoming more valuable than grades. Because in life, many people fail not because they lack knowledge, but because they cannot manage their own emotions. 4. Make time to reflect with your child every day. We live in a world where everything moves far too fast. Children wake up, go to school, do their homework, attend activities, then look at another screen. Day after day, they absorb a huge amount of information, but they spend very little time stopping, thinking, understanding what actually happened. There is a truth worth remembering. Experience by itself does not create growth. Growth comes from reflecting on that experience. 2 children can go through the exact same failure. One sees it as the end. The other sees it as a lesson. The difference is not the event itself. The difference lies in how they reflect on it. That is why every evening before bedtime, take a few minutes to talk with your child, not to check their homework, not to ask about grades, but to ask questions like these. What made you happiest today? What disappointed you today? What did you learn today? If you could do it again, what would you do differently? Do not rush to give advice. Do not try to correct every answer. Just listen. Sometimes a child does not need someone to solve the problem. What they need is someone patient enough to help them discover the answer for themselves. That is how critical thinking is developed. That is how self-awareness begins to grow. And that is how wisdom is built. Little by little. 5. Let your child struggle with challenges that are appropriate for their age. Perhaps this is the hardest lesson for many parents, because the instinct of love is to protect, to help, to do everything possible to keep your child from hurting. When you see your child struggling to tie their shoes, you bend down and do it for them. When you see them struggling with a math problem, you pick up the pencil and solve it yourself. When they have a disagreement with a friend, you step in immediately. Every one of those actions comes from love. But sometimes, love without patience takes away your child's opportunity to grow. The human brain does not develop the most when everything is easy. The brain develops the most when it has to work through a challenge that is just difficult enough. If the challenge is too great, your child will give up. If it is too easy, they will learn nothing. But if it is just difficult enough, the brain begins searching for solutions. It begins forming new connections. It begins building perseverance. That is why, do not rush to do everything for your child. Stay beside them, encourage them, support them, be ready to help when they truly need it. But first, give them the chance to try. They may fail. They may not do it well. They may take much longer, but that time is creating something far more valuable than praise. It is building the belief, I can get through this. No one is born resilient. Resilience is built through hundreds of moments when we stand up again after small failures. A child who has never been allowed to fail will struggle to face the greater failures that life will eventually bring. But a child who grows up with challenges that match their abilities will learn that failure is not the end. It is simply part of growing up. Teach your child through stories. If there is one thing the human brain does better than almost anything else, it is remembering stories. Think back to your own childhood. You probably cannot remember every piece of advice your parents gave you. You probably cannot remember every moral lesson you were taught at school, but chances are you still remember a story your grandparents told you, a book, a movie, or someone whose story left you with a lesson that stayed for a lifetime. That is not a coincidence. Neuroscience shows that when we hear a story, the brain does far more than process language. It activates our imagination, our emotions, our memories, and our ability to empathize. That is why a 10-minute lecture can be forgotten very quickly, but a story that touches the heart can stay with us for many years. So instead of simply saying, be honest, tell your child about someone who lost the trust of everyone around them because of one small lie. Instead of saying, be kind, tell your child about a stranger who changed someone's life through one small act of kindness. Instead of saying, never give up, tell your child about people who failed dozens of times before they succeeded. Stories help children see the world through someone else's eyes, and when children learn to put themselves in another person's place, empathy begins to grow. And empathy is one of the most important parts of wisdom. 7. Let natural consequences do the teaching. This may be the most powerful habit of all, but it is also one of the hardest to practice. Because when we love our children, we naturally want to protect them. We want to fix things. We want to prevent anything bad from happening. If your child forgets their lunch, you immediately take it to school. If they forget their homework, you rush to rescue them. If they procrastinate, you step in and solve the problem for them. In that moment, it feels as though you have helped your child. But sometimes, what you have actually done is take away the opportunity for life to teach them. There is a very simple rule. People learn the fastest when they experience the consequences of their own choices. Not because they were scolded, not because they were punished, but because the experience itself creates a lesson the brain is unlikely to forget. If your child forgets their jacket, they will feel the cold. If they do not prepare for a test, they will understand what it feels like to be unprepared. If they put off an important task, They will experience the pressure of leaving everything until the last minute. Those are lessons that no one can learn for them. That does not mean parents should abandon their children. And it certainly does not mean allowing them to face dangerous consequences. The role of a parent is not to disappear. It is to stay close, to observe, to guide, and to step in only when your child's safety is truly at risk. There is a very big difference between protecting your child and preventing your child from growing. Many parents do not realize that difference until their children have already become adults, and still wait for someone else to solve their problems, still fear taking responsibility, still look for someone else to blame. Wisdom is not created by listening to someone else talk. It is created by living through experiences, by reflecting on those experiences, and by growing because of them. That is a gift no school can give. But life is always ready to teach it, if we are brave enough not to take those lessons away from our children. 8. Give your child moments of silence. This may be one of the rarest gifts modern parents can offer their children. We live in a world where silence has almost disappeared. The moment we wake up, the phone is there, the sounds are there, the notifications are there. Every empty moment is quickly filled, to the point that even adults feel uncomfortable being alone with their own thoughts. Children today are no different. Every free moment, there is another screen waiting. Another video, another game, another distraction competing for their attention. At first glance, that may seem harmless, but the brain needs silence just as the body needs sleep. It is during quiet moments that the brain begins connecting what it has learned, organizing memories, finding meaning, and creating new ideas. That is why our deepest thoughts rarely appear when we are busy. They come while taking a walk, while watching the sky, while reading a book, or simply while sitting in silence. Give your child a little time each day. No phone, no television, no tablet, no music. Nothing special needs to happen. Simply let them be alone with themselves. At first, they may tell you they are bored. That is completely normal, because their brain has become used to constant stimulation. But if parents are patient enough, something remarkable begins to happen. Your child starts observing more, thinking more, asking more questions. And little by little, they develop a skill that many adults still struggle to master: the ability to listen to their own inner voice. A person who is always chasing the noise of the world will find it very difficult to discover what truly matters to them. But a person who knows how to live with silence often makes wiser decisions, because they do not only listen to other people, they also know how to listen to themselves. 9. Give your child responsibility. There is something deeply unfortunate. Many children grow up without ever feeling that they are truly useful. They are cared for with great attention. They are given so much, but they are rarely given the opportunity to contribute. Parents often think, "My child is still too young. I'll do it. It will be faster. I'll do it. It will be better. I'll do it." So nothing gets broken. And little by little, the child becomes used to receiving more than giving. Yet, every human being has a very natural need, the need to feel that they matter, not because someone serves them, but because they can create something good for someone else. Give your child responsibilities that are appropriate for their age. It could be watering the plants, feeding the family pet, clearing the table after dinner, folding clothes, or helping a younger sibling put away toys. Do not focus too much on whether they do it perfectly. What matters more is that your child feels they are an important part of the family. When children feel trusted, they become more responsible. When they become more responsible, they grow more mature. And as they mature, they begin to understand that life is not only about receiving. It is also about giving. That is one of the most beautiful qualities of a wise person. 10. Become the person you hope your child will become. This may be the hardest truth to accept, But it is also the truth with the greatest impact. Parents spend a great deal of time teaching their children, teaching them to be honest, teaching them to apologize, teaching them to be kind, teaching them to stay calm, teaching them to respect other people. All of those things are important. But there is something even more important. It is the way you live every single day. A child may not remember every word you have ever said, but their brain never stops recording the way you live. They watch you when you drive. They watch the way you talk about other people when they are not around. They watch how you treat the server at a restaurant. They watch how you respond when work does not go the way you planned. They watch how you handle conflict with your partner. They watch how you apologize, and even how you forgive. That is how children learn. Not with their ears, but with their eyes. Psychologists call this observational learning. It is one of the most powerful ways the brain learns, because children do not only listen to their parents, they copy their parents. If you often lose your temper, your child will believe that is how adults solve problems. If you always blame other people, your child will learn that responsibility is something to avoid. If you always know how to listen, know how to apologize when you are wrong, know how to keep your promises, your child will also believe that this is normal. The beautiful thing is this: you do not have to be perfect. There is no perfect father, there is no perfect mother, and children do not need perfect parents. What they need is to see an adult who keeps learning, who keeps growing, who is willing to admit their mistakes. Many parents find it difficult to tell their child, "I was wrong. I'm sorry." They fear that saying those words will make them lose authority. But the truth is exactly the opposite. When parents have the courage to admit their mistakes, children learn that making mistakes is not something to be ashamed of. What truly matters is having the courage to make things right. That is one of the greatest lessons about becoming a mature human being. Before we finish, I want you to pause for a few seconds and ask yourself one question. If your child grows up to become exactly the kind of person you are today, would you feel at peace? That is not a question meant to make you feel guilty. It is a question meant to remind us that parenting does not begin with advice. It begins with ourselves. There is a beautiful saying: children rarely become what we tell them to be, but they almost always become what they see us do. Perhaps that is why the greatest gift parents can ever give their children is not a perfect childhood. It is the example of an adult who knows how to live with kindness, who knows how to love, who knows how to take responsibility, who never stops learning, and who knows how to stand up again after every fall. One day, your child will leave this home. They will step into new relationships, a new career, a new life where you can no longer walk beside them every step of the way. There will be decisions that no one can make for them. There will be failures that no one can endure for them. There will be moments when they must stand alone and choose between what is easy and what is right. When that day comes, what guides your child will not be their grades, not their diplomas, not the praise they once received. It will be the habits, the values, and the way of thinking that was quietly nurtured inside your home. So, do not wait until your child is older to begin. Do not wait until they make a mistake before you teach. Do not wait until life becomes difficult before you change. Begin today. Begin with a question instead of a command. Begin with a conversation instead of a lecture. Begin by listening more, judging less, trusting more, controlling less, because a child's future is not decided in one single moment. It is built through thousands of very small moments, repeated again and again, every single day. If today's video made you pause and think, please share it with a father, a mother, or anyone who is raising a child. Because perhaps one conversation, one small habit, one simple change may be enough to transform an entire future. And perhaps that is the most beautiful meaning of being a parent, not raising a perfect child, but nurturing a human being who knows how to think, who knows how to love, who knows how to take responsibility, who knows how to live with kindness, and who is wise enough to make this world a better place.